All right. So here's the thing. I don't find joy in this, but I kind of do find joy in this. I'm 50-50 on this because, when you look at people and how they are given power and influence and how they use it, I find it to be very interesting. You know, and when you look at somebody like Joy Reid, who has been in utter pain in my side and everybody's side, especially who are progressive and independent, I for one have to say, oh, good. MSNBC's letting her go after constantly talking down to voters and progressives and independents who didn't want to follow the orders and vote for Biden or Kamala. Now all of a sudden she's crying about her show's cancellation. Now, here's the thing. Here's where my sympathy does come in. I feel sorry for the people and the staff working behind the scenes because as we have covered on this show, and for some reason, YouTube isn't informing our audience when we cover these stories, CNN and MSNBC are laying off a lot of people. And that also includes the top talent because tic-tac-toe 3 in a row, there's a lot of people leaving MSNBC, shows are being canceled, people being fired. MSNBC is sinking. CNN is most likely going to be next. We are witnessing the decline of two major legacy media outlets. And as we are witnessing this, again, I have to bring this up from yesterday's show as well, because over the weekend, I was speaking with people in local media in regards towards Chicago politics, Chicago media, news coverage. And even at the local level, there's a lot of fear going on. There's a lot of concerns happening. Traditional media has to adapt and evolve. And unfortunately, I think for the people at MSNBC, they have reached their end of moment where they go extinct. So if you're feeling depressed, you could have some joy in your life with a side of tears.
My show had value, and that I'm sorry, that what I was doing had value.
This is the same lady who was telling people, oh, we don't want to talk to our Trump family members. Oh, if you voted independent or third party, you're a bad person. If you did this, if you did that, all this talking down and a lot of smug arrogance in regards to saying that Kamala, and even before then, Biden had this in the bag, that we had the best Joe Biden ever, even though he wasn't functioning upstairs. Yeah, there was a lot of value in that show.
I'm sorry. That what I was doing had value. And in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV. And I think this is kind of like me on TV, so I apologize.
Feast on the tears. Feast, my lovelies. Feast on the tears. Shh. Shh. Another drink, another shot. But also I'm seeing my audience. Why are all of you laughing? Shame on all of you. Shame on every single one of you.
What I was doing had value. And in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV. And I think this is kind of like me on TV, so I apologize. And that it mattered. I see Karen is there, and she's been texting me as well. And so what I will just say is that in the end,
Jenny Lynn, she's crying over that lost salary. You know what? I'm not going to lie to you. I'd cry too. Oh, I'd cry too. Like,
And thank you. Where I land is that the moment of guilt that I felt, that I went hard on so many issues, whether it was the Black Lives Matter issues of a young baby or a mom or a dad that was killed, or when we opened up people's eyes to the fact that Asian Americans were being targeted and not just Black folks, or went hard for immigrants who've done nothing but come to this country like my parents did and try to make a life and defended them. Or whether we've talked about what the president is doing that is subversive to the Constitution, that is injurious to our liberty, defending books that people find inconvenient, that Nicole Hannah-Jones put into our spirit, that we need to understand 1619 as the real founding of this country, whether it's talking about any of these issues, and yes, whether it's talking about Gaza And the fact that we as the
Wait a minute. Don't you dare. Because last I checked, any talk about Gaza or what was happening there was quickly dismissed by CNN and MSNBC. I mean, yeah, you talked about it, but when it came down to the protesters and the activists calling out Democrat politicians, ooh, they were cast aside. And let's not forget, the uncommitted vote, how they were smeared and slandered and pushed around on corporate media, how anyone that wasn't going to vote Democrat was a bad person. And MSNBC, you helped fuel that. Here's the thing. When you start promoting and doing segments calling out voters that are questioning the Democrats as bad people, it's not going to work like, oh, yeah, you keep on calling me bad. You keep on calling me bad. You get what you deserve when you treat people like crap.
American people have a right to object, to little babies being bombed. And where I come down on that is I'm not sorry. I am not sorry that I stood up for those things, because those things are of God. And I'm a church girl too, and those are the things that I was taught were of God. And so I'm not sorry. I'm just proud of my show.
Proud. Now, first of all, shout out to Sabby Sabs. Sabby Sabs, good friend of the show. Did you know that Joy Reid started a podcast in October 2024, right before the election? Usually this happens after corporate media commentators are fired. This makes me believe she had a feeling this was coming. See, it's all part of a plan. What I don't like, and here's the thing, I'm fine. I'm fine with people doing their own podcast, doing whatever. What I don't like is how you now have these very same corporate media pundits that disrespected and talk down to independent media are now all of a sudden in our backyard. Oh, so now we're cool. See, the only reason why a lot of them are doing this is because they want to replicate the success that Tucker Carlson had. Okay. The only difference is Tucker Carlson actually had and still does, a very strong audience, and Fox News is still kicking themselves in the head for being so stupid for letting him go, because when Tucker left, his audience followed. And my goodness, he has the most popular platform on X and numerous other social media platforms. All these other MSNBC and CNN pundits have been trying to do a click, copy, paste. You know what they're realizing? They're realizing the same thing that the people who created CNN Plus realized too. Nobody really watches them. The only reason why MSNBC and CNN were relevant for the past 8 years is because they bullied their way on social media to have the algorithm favor them. Nobody wants to talk about that, but I do. I do indeed. Shout out again to Sabby Sabs, good friend of the show. But there's more here. Rachel Maddow seemed to have a mad cow meltdown about this.
All the other nights except for Mondays. So that's a big change. An even bigger programming change is at 7 p.m., 7 p.m. Eastern, where Joy Reid's show, The Readout, ended tonight. And Joy is not taking a different job in the network. She is leaving the network altogether. And that is very, very, very hard to take. I am 51 years old. I have been gainfully employed since I was 12. And I have had so many different kinds of jobs, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. But in all of the jobs I have had, in all of the years I have been alive, there is no colleague for whom I have had more affection and more respect than Joy Reid. I love everything about her. I have learned so much from her. I have so much more to learn from her. I do not want to lose her as a colleague here at MSNBC. And personally, I think it is a bad mistake to let her walk out the door.
Rachel, listen, management's changing, okay? Things are changing up. It's the 8 years of MSNBC riding on the high of Trump derangement syndrome and the of course the Biden-Harris administration, like, that's coming to an end. After November 5th of 2024, let me stress this out again one more time. I did not predict this happening at the speed that we are witnessing it, because it makes me wonder just how propped up corporate media truly was during these last 8 years. We are witnessing a huge, significant decline in viewership in traditional media, MSNBC and CNN included. They're hemorrhaging viewers. A lot of people are being laid off. I feel sorry for the cameramen, the technicians, the people behind the scenes who do a lot of great work. But the business model of corporate media cannot maintain itself in this day and age. Now, will some aspects of it survive? Yes, of course. But they will not have this position of power and influence that they once had. Comcast, which is the big daddy over NBC, is deciding what to let go, what to cut, what to trim off. Folks, and look, I just got to promote this show one more time, but if you really want to see how media, the establishment media, really runs itself, check out the show Succession. It's a lot of things will be shockingly familiar and will make you cry and laugh at the same time, laugh and cry and laugh.
It is not my call, and I understand that, but that's what I think. I will tell you, it is also unnerving to see that on a network where we've got two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows, as is Katie Fang on the weekend. And that feels worse than bad, no matter who replaces them. That feels indefensible, and I do not defend it. But
wasn't it interesting how Rachel Maddow was all on board for censorship? People being fired, people being deplatformed. But now that it's happening here, because here's the reason. And this is something that Rachel Maddow needs to understand. MSNBC doesn't have the same juice anymore. They gotta let things go. They gotta cut things off. It's no longer viable. That era of the Trump derangement syndrome is gone. It doesn't have a standing with viewers anymore. And many Americans are looking at independent media, new media, to quote Elon Musk here. But yes, there is new media. I wish the algorithm was more fair to independent media, though, but this is what we are witnessing here. So it's not that MSNBC woke up one day and said, let's be evil. No, they're more like, okay, turns out our plan really sucked and we're going bankrupt. That's what's happening. This is what is happening. This is a fact. Since November 5th, they're losing. They're bleeding out.
Just one other piece of it that you should know. From your side of the TV screen, you will mostly see changes in terms of who's in the anchor chair. And actually, everybody who's going to be in anchor chairs from here on out are great colleagues and great at what they do. And you are not going to be disappointed in who's on our air and what you're going to be seeing.
Oh, that's a terrible thing to say. What that is, so yeah, some people you might see in the chair, some people are going to get fired. This is not good. You should not have said that. You should not have said those words. Horrible choice of words there, because that doesn't install confidence. Oh, don't worry. There's a big old hole in the Titanic, but we'll make it. Oh, don't worry. This Titan submarine that's going to the bottom to see the Titanic, yeah, it's made out of material that normally submarines and submersibles aren't made out of, but it'll be okay. Then kaplooey. Don't panic. Don't panic. Oh, yeah, that Starliner that's made by Boeing. Yeah. You know what the problem in that statement? Starliner made by Boeing.
But one thing you cannot necessarily see is that the people who get our shows on the air, they're really being put through the ringer. Dozens of producers and staffers, including some who are among the most experienced and most talented and most specialist producers in the building, are facing being laid off. They're being invited to reapply for new jobs.
Oh, damn. Oh. I feel sorry, again, for the administrative technicians, cameramen, makeup artists, the people who make the shows happen. These are the people I feel sorry for, okay? And the people to blame is the management. But corporate media, you did this to yourself. And you thought that algorithm was going to favor you. You thought it was going to silence independent media. I know what you guys did in 2015. I was there. We saw it. Me and Daniel saw it happen first time, even when we got on radio. We waited a while, but it happened. And now a lot of these anchors who are more than happy to cheer for censorship and people losing their jobs, well, they're feeling it too. The problem is also they're taking other good people with them. But if this is the model to end the establishment media and the algorithm that favors it, so be it.
That has never happened at this scale in this way before when it comes to programming changes, presumably because it's not the right way to treat people and it's inefficient and it's unnecessary. And it kind of drops the bottom out of whether or not people feel like this is a good place to work. And so we don't generally do things that way. maybe all of our folks, including most of the people who are getting this very show on the air right now, maybe they will all get new jobs here, and I hope they do. But in the meantime, being put in this kind of limbo, the anxiety and the discombobulation is off the charts at a time when this job already is extra stressful and difficult. It is not news for me to tell you that the press and freedom of the press are under attack in a way that is really, it's a big deal for our country. It's very
yeah, I've been in those trenches now for 8 years. Yeah, I know what the attack of the press looks like. And the thing is, you want to know who's to blame for it? Corporate media for destroying independent free speech and the press and the management and the owners. It was the quote unquote tip of the spear that's doing this. You guys did it. You caused it.
Visceral for us here. I know that the business of the press is not an easy thing, and I know that no job is forever. But I think I'm safe in saying for all of us anchors who you know through the TV, please know that what pains us the most is not what happens to us.
Freddie G says she works 1 day a week. A lot of stress on that day. Yeah, and gets paid like $1 million check or something like that. A couple million. I mean, she recently got a pay cut. What this is a panic conversation. I'm pretty sure management is speaking to her right now.
It is what happens to our coworkers on whom we depend and who you don't necessarily know, but we respect and love them and depend on them. And did I mention we respect them? This is a difficult time in the news business, but it does not need to be this difficult. We welcome new voices to this place and some familiar voices to new hours.
That's also a signal of, new talent's coming in, and they're not asking for like $1 million paycheck, which means the corporation will buy the new talent. They'll train them up. It's like rookie season, okay? Get some people on the air.
It's going to be great, honestly, and we want to grow and succeed and reach more people than ever and be resilient and stay here forever. I also believe, and I bet you believe, that the way to get there is by treating people well.
Really? Has Rachel Maddow treated anyone who is independent or third party or, a critical thinker towards the Democratic establishment? Did she treat them well? Did Joy Reid treat them well? Let's have democracy in the chat. Type 1 for yes, they did. Type 2, no, they didn't. Because I remember numerous times where they were calling for people to be removed. YouTube or other social media platforms to censor and suppress other stories. I remember so much. And now we are witnessing full-on karma. I want to pull up something else here too, because it's not only Rachel Maddow that's panicking, but folks, listen here, people. Lester Holt to exit NBC Nightly News as NBC cuts Ayman Mohyeldin's show as well. That's right. Lester Holt is stepping down as anchor. And MSNBC host Ayman Mohyeldin is losing his weekend evening show as the network owners continue a major programming shakeup. And this is all after the day after Joy Reid's show, The Readout, was canceled. So, as MSNBC also went on to say that it was moving Jen Psaki, the former White House press secretary, to a 9 p.m. primetime hour for Tuesdays through Fridays and ending Alex Wagner's current nighttime spot. Rachel Maddow returned to hosting the Monday 9 p.m. slot after finishing her stint hosting 5 days a week during the first 100 days of the Trump administration. So, wow, everything is crashing down. By the way, the people who are going to be replacing Joy Reid's show will be Simone Sanders, Michael Steele, and disgraced senator from the great state of New Jersey, Senator Mendez's daughter. Brilliant. You keep on hitting those home run homers, MSNBC. All what can be added from this is that the business model of the establishment media is effectively crashing down. This is a full showing of how viewers and people are consuming media. They no longer trust MSNBC as a leading source of information. Now, corporate media has a long, sad, and tragic track record of not informing the American people of the news, of information. And because of that, people start losing trust in said institutions. People no longer believe in these institutions or the people speaking at them. And of course, when you see how an algorithm will favor major authoritative sources, people start getting upset and they will start manually making their own choice and voices heard. And I do find it suspicious that just before she was going to be fired, sometime in October 2024, she does her own podcast, setting up her own YouTube channel, as anybody should. But now they're in the market of the independent media sphere, where everyone's trying to make a name for themselves. And I, for one, say, welcome. Welcome to our backyard. You're going to be dealing with so much fun. I would hope that there isn't anything of special privileges being given to quote unquote authoritative people who come from authoritative news sources, because it should be a fair playing ground for everyone in independent media, correct? I will look at this with fascination, but I will also say that if we truly do witness the end of a media network like MSNBC, my original money was on CNN. Maybe things are really that bad at Comcast where they have to let go of certain properties and things that were once deemed valuable. Now, a major business doesn't do this unless there is some red, and I mean true bloody red in the numbers. We've talked about how Hollywood is going bankrupt. We talked about how a lot of major media institutions are struggling financially. We've talked about how news articles and news magazines and everything else is shutting down shop. The venture capitalists are walking away. Extinction level event, folks. But let's have some joy and drink in the tears, shall we? Let us drink in the tears. Let us drink in the tears as a family should, because it just feels so good, so lovely to see such wonderful things in our time. I mean, I, for one, did not have this on my bingo card, but as a family, if you made it to the end, get your mugs out, get your canteens ready, and feast. Feast upon the tears.
My show had value, and that I'm sorry that that what I was doing had value. And in the end, I'm sorry, I try not to cry on TV. And I think this is kind of like me on TV, so I apologize. And that it mattered. I see Karen is there, and she's been texting me as well. And so what I will just say is,
it had value. Now it's gone.